You hear stories where people are like, Jeff, I went out of business, or I almost went out of business, because it's not that easy. I mean, your revenue, your retention, attrition, all those metrics, it's very challenging to make that change. And so I was very, very proud of our team, because we went through and going before these geniuses, and they're like, how did you do it? It gives you great pride. And I know it was a lot of lifting by everybody in the organization to really make that happen. And it happened. And it was, I will say, it was the best move. I learned a lot. And actually, from that experience of changing the business model is why I'm in healthcare now. Because I learned in the fitness industry, you can take a lot of that and apply it to a healthcare industry, and the same laws apply.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to the very first episode of the Gym Owners Growth Zone podcast. I'm your host, Andres Escobar, and I'm super excited about this episode and ready to share the conversation I had with our very first guest, Jeff Skeen. As I mentioned in our teaser today, Jeff understands how to create an incredible growing gym and franchise for everyone involved. He built one of America's largest gym locations, and I'm so excited to have him here with us. You can find more information about him at resultsredefined.com. If this is your first time listening to our podcast and you like what you're hearing, please go ahead and subscribe. We appreciate your support, and also when you think someone could benefit from our episode, share it with them. My last ask is simple. Since we are new and we need ratings and reviews, it would be greatly appreciated if you would help us reach a wider audience by leaving us a review and a rating. So, by the way, if you have any comments or feedbacks, feel free to connect with me through Instagram at MeetEsco, and I'll love to hear any suggestions or feedback that you want to share with me. You can also find me on LinkedIn at Andres Escobar, the number one. All right. Now, as we dive into Jeff's episode today, I'm really intrigued to get your opinions and your thoughts about what Jeff is going to share with us today. So let's go ahead and jump into and listen to our conversation. Hey everyone, Andres Escobar here, and I have Jeff Skeen on our podcast. And welcome, Jeff. Welcome, Jeff, to the show. Thank you so much for coming on, and it's so great to have you as our guest. And, before we get into how to grow a gym and all that good stuff, I really want to understand, who you are. I want I know you, but I want the audience to understand who you are and where you came from, a little bit about your story. If you were a superhero, what's your origin story, right? I don't know if you're into superheroes, but just like where you're like your whole start in business and what took you there. So if you could share with us, that'd be awesome.
It's I don't want to start when I was born. We'll start that,
Right.
like Superman.
It all started with
like that, but right, that's right. No, I grew up with humble beginnings. My family comes from a farm in Kansas, and my dad was Navy, and my mom was homemaker. And so, I really had no business influence per se growing up. But, the one thing that my father really instilled in me is a couple things. One, life's about people. It's not about you. Work hard. You're not entitled to deserving of anything, and don't make life about money. And I grew up in a Christian home, where our faith is really important to us. And, that's what I love about the faith and the Bible is it really talks about those characteristics. So I really, truly believe that foundation he set for me made it possible to me to do the things that I do now. And because I think a lot of people make a mistake of chasing money and dollars, and they end up really unhappy. I know some very, very wealthy people that are just miserable. And so started that way. Really, I remember my first story of my first business was when I was 11 with my brother who was 9, and we'd sell kids candy at the bus stop. We'd save up our allowance and buy candy. And, so my whole life is about hustling, and, we didn't have a lot of money. And so my dad's like, I'm here to clothe you, but he gave me the worst clothes. I had a brand of tennis shoes called Zips, which I don't know anyone knows what those were, but he's like, if you want Nike, save up your money and you can upgrade. But, my responsibility is to put some clothes on you, give some food, a shelter. If you want the nice stuff, you've got to hustle. And so that really was everything that I went after. And, I really was drawn to sales very early on in my life. I loved, and I hate using sales because I think sales gets a really bad rap as a title, but I really enjoyed connecting with people and finding what their needs were. Like these kids off the bus stop, the parents shut us down, but the kids wanted candy and it made them happy. So why not? So the parents didn't like it because all the lunch money went to candy, but so.
It's funny. I also sold candy in school as well. I think that's like, either lemonade or candy. One of those things, right?
Absolutely. It's a go-to as a kid, right? So it was what kids wanted at that time. And so, and also I love sales. And I had a mentor who was very high up at IBM, and I was going to Virginia Tech, and I wanted to sell things. I wanted to sell computers for IBM was the first thing I wanted to do. And I said to him, what college degree should I get? Marketing, advertising, whatever, and communication. He said, no, get finance or accounting. And he said, if you understand the P&L and understand the balance sheet of a business, you'll go far as a salesperson. Because at the early days of IBM, a lot of people were marketing and sales that made it to the CEO. And so I always had this dream of being the CEO of a publicly traded company. So it was this idea, like, put these tools in your toolkit. He's like, God bless you with sales. IBM's not going to teach you that. We'll refine the gifts, but really finance and accounting are things you can learn. And so I went to Virginia Tech for that. I played sports. I was a rugby player in a fraternity, and obviously had to drop one of those because my grades were suffering. But started in accounting and almost failed cost accounting. So it's kind of like maybe not accounting. So I'll get finance. And I really enjoyed finance. So that's what I ended up graduating with a minor in accounting. And so that was my getting to the point I was, and really. First business was helping a family run an office supply company that was going bankrupt, and my first out of college, and I was blessed to turn that around, and we sold it and got the family out of hardship. And then I got into software sales and development. I was running a company that developed software to manage 401ks and so forth, and then from there, I ended up with depression because I believed I could muscle my way through everything. It's kind of one of those things, Navy athlete, kind of like, hey, you can do anything you want. Just work really hard and it will come to you. Yeah. And a long story short, it wasn't the case. It really was that focus drew me away from family, friends, purpose, everything. And I ended up with occupational depression in 91. And so it really was kind of the pivoting point of me completely understanding that I'm not completely in control, that life's not about me, it's about others. How do I serve people? And I really, if I think about it, I was serving myself because it was my ego driving me to be great, that kind of thing. And really, in my opinion, it was God getting my attention, saying, look, take a stop, reset, think about what's going on and why you are doing what you're doing. And really, it was probably, I will say I never will trade that in for the world, because it really helped me get focused on what's most important in life. And so that's actually through depression. After I got through that, I got into the gym industry through Gold's Gym.
Yeah. I wanted to interrupt real quick because I don't want to miss this point. The ego, it's been this theme this week for myself, is the ego is the enemy, right? And it's a stoic phrase. It's very old, and we don't understand that sometimes. It's like, oh, ego's supposed to be there to protect us. It's good, it makes me feel good, and that's great. But could you just share with us a little bit about that ego and how it didn't serve you, and it brought you to depression? Just a little of that story. I just feel led to just talk about that a little bit more, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. And it's interesting. A friend of mine said what ego stands for is edging God out. This idea that you are in control of your environment, you are in control of life. And when you put yourself at the top, you can be very sorely disappointed in the outcome. And so, it's kind of, that came about in this story at the computer company, because the first company I was able to sell and was blessed to sell, I worked like a dog. And I started at that point where I started just not going home, sleeping in my office, really just living a very unbalanced lifestyle. So it really started there. But after I was blessed to be able to sell this company that was going bankrupt as my first deal, I thought I was big stuff. I thought, wow, look at me. I'm in my 20s. I sold a multi-million-dollar company. I'm the man, and I can do anything. And so the next opportunity that came to me was our banker said, look, hey, you had great success here. This actuarial software company, the owners need someone to help run it. They're looking for a business manager because they are actuaries and not really with business background. And so I interviewed and I told the owners, like, I don't know anything about computers. And they're like, well, you know how to run a business. I'm like, that's true. Well, I'll figure it out, right? I'm smart enough. I'm good enough. I can do it. And so I got in there and very quickly understood how deficient I was in understanding technology. And so what I did was I bought a computer and I took it home, the old DOS-based system.
Wow.
And, at the time, my wife and I lived in the townhome, but you would think we weren't married because I was working in my basement every night, taking the computer apart, crashing the system, looking at how do I fix these things. And so I really dedicated during the day running this company. At night, I'm going to learn about computers.
Right.
And then the vice president of technology asked for his help. And so what he would do is at night when he went home and I was gone, he would mess around with my computer. And when I come in the morning, I had to fix it to be able to start my day. So, so he loved the fact that he got to torture me in this education of technology.
Wow.
But that was kind of the beginning of the end, right? It was kind of this idea that I can muscle it up. I can do anything. I'm smart enough. I went to school. I have a degree. These kind of things run through your head, and I don't need anybody. I can do it. And I think, that is the big lie, right? I think ego can be good. I think, like you said, it can drive you for success in a good manner. I mean, it's this idea that, successful people can drive a company to be bad or good. I mean, just because, you have an ego doesn't mean you're always doing the right thing. And so that was to your point, kind of focusing back on that was really a pivotal point in my life where now I don't think I can do everything. I know I can't do everything. And so I reach out for help. I kind of lean on partners. I'm not an island to myself.
Right. Yeah, it's so good, right? Because we want to do it ourselves, John Wayne style, Superman style. We talked about the hero and stuff, but yeah, sure. But a hero that works together with other heroes is more impactful, right? And so
that's right.
I think that's awesome. I appreciate that. That's a great story. Thank you so much. So now you're you're talking about Gold's Gym and you're going in there. So tell us a little more about that, and then we can dissect a little more of that.
It's funny because I would have never in a billion years got into fitness if it weren't for depression. Because, this was back, my high school buddies, started the franchise at Gold's Gym in the Northern Virginia area. We were friends from high school, and, they gave me a membership as we were friends. And, I was going through this stage of my life where I'm worth nothing. Just depression really tears you apart. And, the blessing was I had 6 offers from different companies for financial services, sales, and so forth. And before I was about to take one of the jobs, one of my buddies was like, hey, why don't you come partner with us? Let's grow this together. And I was like, that's really funny. I was like, that's funny. That's what I went to college for, to run a gym, And because at that time, it was still, Gold's Gym. Everyone thinks of Pumping Iron and Lou Ferrigno and Arnold Schwarzenegger and so forth. They never thought of it as a business, right? You got into it because you were the biggest guy on the block, or you were a football player, a personal trainer, those kind of things. So I really had that, and I had never belonged to a health club in my life. I was an athlete, so I worked out the school gyms and so forth. But I just thought of it as just kind of, that's funny, that's a joke. And very persistent. And I said, okay, let's play a game. If you can meet these criteria, then I'll come join the team. And so the first one was, I got to have a paycheck, because I'm thinking these businesses don't make any money. And he's like, how much? And I gave him a number, and he's like, easy, I can do that. And I'm like, dang it, okay, that one's down. Then I'm like, I can't work 7 days a week. The gyms are open 7 days a week. I've learned my lesson. I need balance in my life. I'm only working 6 days. He goes, done.
Yeah.
I'm like, dang it. All right, this isn't working. And I said, all right, I'm going to pull out the wife card. So at the time, I said, look, my wife has to approve. Every guy who wants to be weak can fall back. They're like, the wife card, right? That always wins,
That's
She
right.
says no, So, of course, I went home, and the first thing, is I was like, hey, I want to talk to you about. She's like, do it. I'm like, well, wait a minute. I haven't told you about how much money. I haven't told you about what it really is. She goes, I know you're talking to those guys, and take a year off, mental break. It's not going to really challenge you because it's a gym. You guys are going to have fun. And so it was really more about, she saw it as more of a mental health break for me, to get away from running companies and driving hard. And it's almost like an addict, right? If I'm an addict, the last thing you want to do to an addict when they recover is say, hey, let's go get a drink. So, I think her concern was I was an addict that if I got thrown back into the deep end, I wouldn't be able to swim. So, God really uses many people in our lives, and if we pay attention, and at this point, depression allowed me to pay attention because I really kind of was trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And so got in February 1992, got in with my partners at Gold's Gym, a single health club that was an old school house, about 17,000 square feet, nothing like today's facilities. And really, to me, it was, I'm going to do my best. I'm not going to crush myself like I did before. This will be fun. I get to know my buddies more. We'll just, and what was really cool about it, and what the thing I forgot about was this idea that the gym is just another product like any other product. It's no different. And the underlying business acumen of finance, accounting, IT, and so forth, which I had been trained in, is important in all those. And, so many people pick a product just to pick a product. I used to think as a kid, as a salesperson, I can sell anything. That's probably true, but would I enjoy it? Do I feel it's beneficial to the consumer? Do I believe in it, right? So in sales, I think you're best at sales when you really love what you're selling and you feel that there's a benefit and you connect. So what I found was, instead of trying to sell people into a product, just talking to them, just having this conversation like, why are you here, Mary? Why are you here, John? I was not trained on all the fancy sales techniques of deaf ear and porcupine and all these things we do, but that's not what sales is about. Sales is about literally uncovering a need. Someone walked into your doors as a business, and how do I help you with my product? And so I really came to fall in love with this product. And really, as a group, we grew from one location in 92 to 11 by 1998, and we were the most profitable Gold's Gym chain in the world. And it's not because we were trained in how to run a health club. All of us as partner had our expertise. We had underlying skills that go across the board, right? And we didn't set out to become millionaires. We didn't set out to, at least for me, it wasn't about being a millionaire. It really was a year stint. I was going to be there 92 to 93 and out to get a real job. And once you get into this industry, you fall in love with it. And
it happens to a lot of people.
The right eyes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
A lot of people.
It really does.
I hear that.
You're searching for one thing.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like, I found my home. And it is an incredible business. Now, today it's unbelievably difficult. Just as you know and you've seen in some of these shows, just the money, the billions flowing into our industry, our fitness industry, and so forth, much more difficult. But the thing that held true, whether it's today in sophisticated business or of yesterday, really, do you care about the consumer? They're coming into your doors. It's like I tell the front desk. We built our, I designed one of the first Windows-based health club management systems in the early 90s because we were using DOS. I'm like, there's Windows. Why aren't we doing this? So we built this system. And the number one thing I did was I made sure the name on the check-in screen could be seen from 10 feet away. And the designer's like, why is the name so big? I'm like, because people's names are really important. So much, I go into health clubs now, front desk looking at their phone. You walk in, there's no connection. For me, I wanted the person, if they're running to answer a phone or sell a drink, look over the screen and go, hey, John, have a great day. Because I tell the front desk, this person might have just had a really bad day, and they're coming to your health club to really relax and to change. And so I think those principles hold true, and I know they hold true in any business. If you keep them first and foremost, you'll be successful.
For sure. I love it. That's a great story, and I want to unpack a little bit more on the gym. That's a great strategy. By the way, the being able to broadcast the name of the member coming in. Like, we love to hear our names pronounced. Like, that's the best
Absolutely.
sounding word that anybody can say to us when they say our name and they say it correctly, right? And so it's so important. I mean, take that concept and now use it for your benefit. So I want to take this time, like, just unpack a little bit more. And, we all know life's a roller coaster, in business, no different. It takes ups and downs, tight turns, fast and slow. And what rails or what tracks did you use to keep in line and stay focused on reaching those goals? Obviously, you said, listen, you guys had fun. I know you guys had fun, for sure. I mean, any gym business, you're not having fun. Any business, you're not having fun. It's not worth it.
Right.
Right? Because you said it earlier. It wasn't just about the money. I mean, great, that money's going to come. But if you have fun first, if you understand that your people are important, like you're saying, what kept you on track? Because if you just had fun, obviously, you're not going to get the goals you're going to get. So what did you guys use? What kind of strategies and things did you guys use to stay on track for that?
One thing I really appreciated about the partnership was we left each other alone. It's kind of like, you're in this lane, I'm in this lane. We didn't micromanage each person. The people on the team we trusted. We knew they were doing a great job. So that was really important. I mean, and even before that, I will say, we cared about people. We wanted our employees to be happy. We wanted to make sure we took them on little outings, have fun, because it wasn't just our partnership having fun. We wanted our teammates to have fun, the front desk to have fun, the people cleaning the gyms. We're all teammates. We have different roles and responsibilities, but that was important, that we included our group. We never looked down on anybody in our team. There was never, we saw ourselves as responsible for some of the big boulders that had to be lifted.
Sure.
But we knew the person watching the kids in child care, or the person at the front desk, or the salesperson, or the porter, or the janitor. I put everybody equal. Like, everybody's a human being. We're all building this together. And if any one of those pieces is unhappy or not talented or not caring about the consumer, we will fail. You're as strong as your weakest link, kind of thing. So that was really important. I think the other thing was, I don't ever recall us like, all right, when are we going to make our first $1 million and go get our Ferrari? It wasn't this conversation about what we could own on the backs of the customer and the employee.
Right.
It really was this journey, unexpected journey, that ended up to where I am now, where I've done almost $850 million in fitness transactions, not on the backs of being a genius or taking other advantage of the people. It was really this idea of we were blessed. It was just we did the main blocking and tackling, and it really worked. And so that was one thing. The other thing that we did, because our profitability was one of the largest profitabilities in the world for Golds. It actually was at the time. And they're like, how are you running this 2 to 3 times more profitable than all the other gyms in our network? And for most people in that industry, and really what we did was we cut out the middle layer. And what we did, we believed that the general manager was closest with his team or her team to the front lines. And so everybody that came in as a general manager running that business was a managing partner. They had to invest some capital. It was pretty much, how much do you have in your savings? They're like, I've got $10,000. Well, all right, we want $7,000 if you want to be in. Because, many people's hearts is where their money is. Even if they don't care about people, they care about their money, right? So each of our locations was a self-contained unit that really served the customer, could respond to the customer. It wasn't, layers and layers of people up to the corporate office where the customer got frustrated because no one would resolve their issue. You hear that all the time. Like, I can't get a hold of anybody. There's nothing going on. And we were able to grow rapidly and profitably because the managing partner ran it. And also we knew when we went in as executives into that facility and we trained them on how to make their business better, they cared. They wanted to make it better because they knew those profits were coming into them. Whereas you see a lot, and now it gets very difficult to do that model as you get much larger as an organization. It's just, if you have private equity involved and so forth. But, we had 11 locations, and so not a huge chain, but a decent-sized chain. And we could grow because we knew that those boxes were being taken care of. And as we opened new ones, we didn't have to really worry so much about the success of that individual facility.
Wow. Did you just call boxes the gym location? Because that's CrossFit.
Yes,
They use box. Okay, gotcha. Okay, just to kind of clarify, because I don't hear anybody outside of CrossFit using boxes. But yeah, that's true. Okay, good.
And many different terms for it.
So many different terms. All right, the whole jargon and stuff.
Right.
But this audience is mostly gym owners, so hopefully they caught that as well. But that's good. So that's great. I mean the no micromanaging. I see that a lot right now with a lot of gym owners. They're just micromanaging. They want to know what's going on in every single aspect, which is important. But when you take over the job of the one that you hire somebody to do, that's no good. You're too much.
Yeah,
you're too much.
And also, I think there's a lot of lazy management that I've seen where some I've seen, I wouldn't say everybody, not everyone does this. There's a lot of very successful operators, but a lot of the ones that I've seen fail, the way they set goals for their team is last year we did 200 units a month. So this year you're going to do 220 a month. Well, we just hit a recession. How is it possible to do 220 units? And what you end up finding is you burn out your staff, they become disheartened. So there's not a lot of business evaluation on the economic environment, what people can achieve or can't achieve. And so you really dishearten the team, and you become this leader that has to feel like they have to micromanage because you did a poor job of establishing realistic goals for your team. And you just, took 5 minutes to say, oh, this year it's 10% more than last year, and this year it's 10%. I mean, we all know in any business you can't grow forever at that pace. And so that's where I've seen also a lot of failures is just not really setting the right expectations for the business.
Or not setting any expectations. Sometimes like, hey, we just got to do better. We did this last year. We didn't do this better. That's it. Like, come on.
Yes.
Give me a
number. Someone told me they call that run faster coaching. It's this idea as an athlete, you need to run faster and just run faster. And it's like, well, coach, I'm running as fast as I know how to. Your job as a coach, what muscle groups do I have to work on? What form do I have to do? And you hear that, just do better, Billy. Just do better. It's like, how? Billy's doing the best he can. He doesn't know anything else.
I love that. That's great. I love that. Just do better. He's doing exactly. You as a coach, you need to know what they need to work on. What is the actual movement that they need to improve? Their arms. Is it not moving right? What is it? What is it? Oh, I love that. That's great nugget right there, Jeff. Appreciate that. So obviously you shared some obstacles and some challenges. What did you guys do to overcome? If you could just share like one obstacle or a challenge and how you overcame it.
The depression was the biggest life obstacle I think I've faced personally.
Right.
The other huge obstacle I faced, obviously COVID for everybody was an absolute disaster in the business world, period. But for me, before that, the Great Recession, of 2000. I guess at the end of 2007 it kicked in, right?
The real estate, the real estate crashes and whatnot.
Everything.
Everything, right? It just.
It was
depression. I mean,
worst
talk about
time ever.
depression. It's the recession, depression. I mean, that's like, and honestly, some of that stuff still lingers on, But yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And I'd gotten out of the fitness industry. We'd sold Gold's Gym International in 2004 and made some nice money. And so I was like, I'm happy not doing that hard work anymore. You kind of get burnt out. And then I got talked back in 2006 to really getting back after it because I had a consulting business for the fitness industry, helping franchises open. And so I still was in it, but I didn't have to worry about putting $5 million down into my own money and opening a gym, right? It was really someone else's money, and I had the background in it. And so, but got talked into 06. So of course I, was like, I'm kind of happy. And they're like, hey, we can get some term sheets on these chains of golds for sale. This would be awesome. Let's do it all over again. So some of the guys from the former Gold's Gym International team were available, and I'm like, well, let's see. And so, basically at that point I said, my first stint with private equity wasn't my most enjoyable one. And, and one reason was, it's a different world. Like if you're an entrepreneur and then you've got private equity guys that have Harvard MBAs and spreadsheets and really smart managing your business, and they don't know your business, there's a lot of push and pull. And so it was my first experience. I wasn't really excited about it, But doing what we wanted to do in 2006, we really needed to raise the capital to roll up a bunch of chains and really grow as fast as we wanted to. So I told the team, I'm like, okay, fine. As long as I'm CEO, we'll do that. And I got to find a private equity group that shares our values. I don't want to be called at 2 a.m. on a Sunday. I don't, I want to go to my daughter's soccer game. I don't want to be like, why are you doing that? I don't want to, I want to be trusted by the private equity group and have a group that says, look, don't take every single penny off the table at your own health and the risk of your team. So I said, if we can find that, and the great news about raising capital, we owned nothing. We put some term sheets together, and we had a great management team, and we got incredible number. It was 60 people interested in our raise, and we ended up with 10 that made offers. And so off to the races, right? We had to raise debt. We raised all this money from private equity, closed on it the end of '07. The worst time ever to re-enter a business with significant investment. And I thought to myself, God, I knew this was a bad idea. What the heck am I doing? I had a great cushy life. I could have sat back, not worried about this economy, and now I'm in the midst of this off to the races hell. And, within a year, our revenues were cut in half. We were breaking bank covenants left and right. Our bankers were like, that's it. We're getting rid of you guys. You're being scrapped. And my ego is the thing I was worried about. I was like, oh my goodness. I had come from a background of a resume that looked successful, right? And then to have one that said, oh, by the way, I failed. And everyone's like, oh, it's a great recession. You're like, it doesn't matter. Failing fails. It doesn't feel good, right? So it was during that time, and I tell people, like depression in my personal life, I love business challenges. I love disaster, because what it does is it makes you become a better business person. It makes you think about new opportunities. Like the COVID experience was horrible, but I saw like the fitness industry getting into omni-channels, getting into digital, it would have never happened in my mind, at least at this pace, if there wouldn't have been some disastrous moment in our economy. So I looked at that. You need a shakeup. Your life personally and in business, you need a shakeup, because otherwise you get comfortable. And I have friends that were making millions of dollars a year, comfortable in their careers. Great recession hit, zero revenue, and they went bankrupt because they just sat back. It was like, oh, the money will always come. So for our team, we had never experienced something this dramatic. In the past, I've been through some recessions, but this was like off the charts.
Goal is a beautiful word to hear when you're scoring on the soccer field. This last World Cup was won by Argentina because of one important player. Yeah, you got it. It was the goalie. He secured the win for the team, and in the same way, ReviewBiz platform will catch negative reviews before they go online. In addition, it helps you score and promote fresh new reviews so you can crush the competition. So don't let those big box gyms take your clients. ReviewBiz will help you build your online presence and turn your own members into your best sales reps. Get your first 5 reviews for only $1. All you got to do is go to reviewbiz.io/try to get started.
And so what it did was we as a management team, like, we don't want to be scrapped. We're fighting for something much bigger. We're not going to fail. We're athletes. We're winners. That kind of mentality, grabbing the face mask and saying, let's get after it. And we came up with some ideas. Some were the worst ideas. Our private equity group at a board meeting, we go like, oh, that's really funny. I think you're really stretching for us to feel like you got this under control. I'm like, well, we're going to sell pencils on the street with the gym name on it if we have to, right? So it made us reevaluate profitability. Did we need certain expenses? Had we just become fat and happy?
Right.
What are some of the things that happened? And it was through this whole thing that we were a Gold's Gym franchisee at the time, and we had about 16 or so locations under the brand. And then we went to buy Fitness Connection. That's how the Fitness Connection acquisition came about in 2011. And that was a completely different model. It was a $10 big box. The guys that founded that were geniuses in a sense. Planet Fitness came out of, kind of the same thing. An economic downturn, we need to sell more memberships, let's make it $10. And none of us would have ever thought selling a $10 membership would work, right? We were selling memberships for $50 a month, and we're like, We're happy. So it was through that acquisition. Unfortunately, we weren't given the rights by Gold for Houston, Texas, and so we had to delist from the brand and convert to Fitness Connection. A very scary moment because Gold's Gym, even to this day, I have an incredible soft spot for it. I love the brand. I love the people. And for me to leave and our team to leave something that's all I knew. That was the first brand I was involved with. It was a very difficult time. And even my private equity guys were like, man, this is going to be a Hail Mary, not only because you're debranding from the most recognized brand in the world, but changing your business model from something that's $10 from 50, and you need a lot more members to make it happen. So it was a really scary time for us because it was the Hail Mary. It was kind of like, how do we make it happen? And our team.
How did you make it happen? Yeah.
Well, it was amazing. We, under the brand, the Gold's Gym brand, awesome brand, but what we learned from it was the way we ran our business and the way we took care of our customers and our facilities trumped the brand.
That's it.
So we were really afraid because we thought a business is all about the brand. Now, brand recognition is huge, right? I mean, McDonald's obviously has a brand, right, that's worth an incredible amount of money. Gold's as well, still a great brand. But I think we were afraid that it was more about the name on the building versus what was inside the building. You know, did you have a clean facility? Did you greet your customers when they walked in? So first thing, we debranded, very little disruptions to the business. Now, if I would say for anyone out there starting a business in the fitness industry, being part of a franchise is really important because it's a complex business, way more complex than it used to be. So I don't want anyone to think I'm poo-pooing franchising or branding. I'm not at all. But I think the lesson here is don't rely on the brand to what carries your business. You know, rely on, basic business things, taking care of the consumer,
right.
Keeping it clean. People don't leave people, they leave businesses, right? So if you have a connection with the consumer, and I was the XYZ facility, they're going to come out, hey, Jeff, why the XYZ facility? Here's why, but still same great product. Awesome, off they go. They're not going to leave because, I'm not, forget it.
Right.
I'm leaving you. So that was the first lesson learned in that whole change. The second one was, it was awesome to watch our team and our geniuses put math behind changing a model that's $50 a month to $10 a month with, getting away from an obligated period, having high enrollments, all these kind of things. The metrics are so different from a big box to, a high volume box like Fitness Connection or Plant Fitness and these others that have come about, EOS.
Sure.
A bunch of them are very successful. But going from one model to the next, while running alongside the train, while the banks are thinking about bankrupting you, while all these things are happening, it was like our team was like, I can't imagine our team going through anything worse except COVID, right? I mean, throw COVID in there. Right. Like, game
Implosion.
Over. All right,
yeah.
we tried.
Yeah.
We're closing. But, from that perspective, that was an incredible Herculean event from our team to phase the whole thing. And when you looked at the financials, when we changed private equity funds after the acquisition of Fitness Connection, we showed our financials, and everyone's like, when did you change the brand? They didn't see any loss in revenue. A lot of people, what they do is they change their model. They're like, hey, I'm going to go $10 a month because I'm losing in my market at $15.50, and I'll just change my price.
Yeah.
You hear stories where people are like, Jeff, I went out of business, or I almost went out of business, because it's not that easy. I mean, your revenue, your retention, attrition, all those metrics, it's very challenging to make that change. And so I was very, very proud of our team because we went through and going before these geniuses, and they're like, how did you do it? It gives you great pride. And I know it was a lot of lifting by everybody in the organization to really make that happen. And it happened. And it was, I will say, it was the best move. I learned a lot. And actually, from that experience of changing the business model is why I'm in healthcare now. Because I learned in the fitness industry, you can take a lot of that and apply it to a healthcare industry, and the same laws apply.
Yeah. And I definitely want to talk about what you're doing right now. I got one question that I'm just can't wait to ask you, and this is it. Like the question is, and anticipation here. What would you change in the fitness industry right now? And like if you were to, I know. I was like, I can't wait to ask him because, you look at it, you've gone through it, you've seen it, what it was, what it's become, and obviously you mentioned a little bit about the being on the phone and stuff like that's like it's got to irk people. And obviously, you could be on the phone and you could work, but I don't know. Like I don't know. Like what do you think it would be something if you could change in the industry? Like what would it be?
It's I guess the best way to explain it is this. We were raising capital with another private equity fund. And we were sitting in this meeting, fireside chats in New York, with all these people wanting to give us a ton of money. And my management team, I had not prepped them for my response to one of the questions I got from the private equity group. And they're like, kind of asked something, give me some insight as why you're doing what you're doing, whatever it may be, kind of like, our little interview here. And I said, when I look at the industry, I feel like I have failed and that diabetes and obesity have come about because of my failure in the fitness industry.
Wow.
And of course, my partners are like, we're trying to get a lot of money. I don't know that you're really going to lock it down with that response. Right. And obviously the private equity guy's like, what are you talking about? Your resume shows like you're in fitness, right? That's all you've done. You were an athlete, like this is your whole life. And I said, here's why. Until the Fitness Connection acquisition, and it was Gold's Gym, what did I focus on in my advertising? What did I focus on in my messaging to the consumer? It is like people would come to me and go, you're at Gold's. Well, I'm going to work out at home until I'm ready to look good to be at Gold's. I'm like, no, that's not what we want you to come in bust broke. So we are the experts to help you, right? That's why Gold's the pinnacle of fitness. That whole thing from, the bodybuilder, everyone laughed at it, but it really was kind of the consultants were like, that's a pinnacle of fitness, right? Look how, this is what it means. But really in my mind, it was more about the pinnacle of beauty. Because when we message, what's the advertisement? Get ready for the beach. Get ready, you have someone in a bikini laughing and joking, or some guy that's shredded, right? Or, all these kind of things. And we talked about beauty. We didn't talk about inner health or mind, your mind or the whole body. It was literally, if you look at personal training folders, this is one thing that drove me nuts because I took over the personal training division at Fitness Connection because I wanted to get closer to this product. And I'd go through the files and I'm like, what are these sheets? We're tracking BMI, bicep, chest, waist, weight, right? Maybe body fat percent might be in there, depending on how you measured it. And I'm like, Grandma Jones doesn't care about any of the metrics.
Right.
Why is she coming? Why is she coming to you? Well, maybe because they have a grandchild and she can't pick that grandchild up, or she can't get off the ground and participate in family activities. We're missing what this person needs and wants. And they're like, well, we have no place to measure it. So I said, let's measure it. Maybe there's just a line with a happy face on it. Like they do in, reviews, right? Happy face, sad face.
Sure.
Right? She's not looking to get an 18-inch bicep. She could care less. And so it really struck me as I got into this, and I started looking at the attrition in the personal training division and compared the folders with all the tracking of the metrics.
Right.
There was a direct correlation. Like people were not hitting, quote unquote, the goals we established for them, but not their goals.
Right.
So as an industry, if you look at it, dumbbells are dumbbells. Squat racks are squat racks. I mean, we have more electronics now more than ever, and the equipment's prettier and it's fancier and all that kind of stuff. But the industry has not really changed. It really hasn't. And I truly believe that COVID was a wake-up call to our industry to say, there's more. Like, would the governors shut us down, comparing us to tattoo parlors and bowling alleys or whatever, if our messaging was we're about health and wellness, not just about beauty? Now, beauty, sure. Beauty gets you in the door, right? It makes the phone to ring. But we have a greater responsibility as an industry to take care of the customer for more than just looking really good. And so I think from that, when you look back on it, it's a huge gap. And that's why I've left to do what I've done, is because one of the things in my company now that we uncovered was that a lot of people have underlying health issues, cholesterol, the rising risk, the type 2 diabetes or whatever, right? And low hormones or whatever it may be. You could work with a guy with low testosterone until you're blue in the face. They're just not going to get there.
No.
So I was like, wait a minute, there's a missing piece there. Mental health, huge issue. Mental health.
Big.
I mean, what's awesome about the fitness industry is
It helps.
if you exercise,
Yeah.
you feel good. Like when I got in the gym business, I feel great. My dopamine's up, whatever it may be, right? And
Right.
so we are way more than just beauty. We really are doing things that we never really contemplated that we're doing. We never really called them out. And what I love now, going to fitness shows and talking to my friends in the industry, they're calling it out. Like, we got to call this out because we are more than that. We're not just a place to get ripped and look beautiful.
Right.
And so the industry really needs to evolve. It really needs to be part of wellness, healthcare. It
Yeah.
needs to be part of this continuum of health. We have an incredible opportunity as a fitness industry to change. But unfortunately, I see so many of these models. It's deconstructing the big box, right? Now we got studios everywhere. Now we've got all these pieces all over the place.
Yeah.
And they're great, right? Convenience is really important, right? That's probably one reason most people go to a business is it's convenient. So we're providing more convenience. But are we going to bend the curve for diabetes and obesity and these other things if we don't change our language, the services we offer, and really approach the consumer from a holistic perspective?
I love that. It's just you alluded to it a little bit before, like, hey, just going back to the brand, right? It's the outside. And then what's going on the inside? And now you're going even deeper. Like, hey, what's going on the inside with the people on the inside? That mental health thing is so big.
Huge.
And health and fitness, working out helps so much. Those endorphins, I'll share a quick story. My son saw me, I was like a little down in the dumps, and he's like, hey, Dad, what's going on? You okay? Or actually, he didn't even say that. He said, hey, Dad, what was the last time you had fun, that you felt like you were having fun? And I said, well, last time I was bike riding. And he's like, hey, why don't we do that? He didn't even say, hey, how are you? What's wrong? He didn't say any of that. He said, hey, what was the last time? He wanted to get me out of my funk. And he said that. I'm like, let's go. And then I'm like, this guy's a genius. This kid's a genius. I'm like, who am I working with? This guy, I gotta watch out with this guy.
Right.
Anyways, my son, I love him to death. And so, but yeah, that's just going deep, understanding the psyche of your members, your customers, and serving them best. They're not one size fits all. We can't be. So I love that.
And I think also it's a very complex issue, and that's again why we started our company, is because
Right.
it is a very complex to say. It's easy for me to say, yeah, the industry needs to change, and we knew this, but what I'm doing now, I'm even seeing more complexity, because once you start moving into healthcare, it's a whole nother game. I thought the fitness industry was complicated. Healthcare is off the hook. I mean, it is just unbelievable.
Agreed on that. I have some experience with healthcare, and it needs to be from pharmaceuticals to just the care from the doctor to the patient.
Right,
Yeah,
because
for
if you
sure.
look at the health club industry, I criticize the health club industry for just being about beauty. Mm-hmm. I criticize the healthcare industry about disease management. Mm-hmm. So both industries, you don't change a stripe of a title, right? If you were brought up as an athlete, you're an athlete, and that's what you know, right?
Right.
If you're a doctor and you were trained in diagnosing and providing prescriptions, that's what you know. And you can't blame people for that because that's what they know. And when you take a look at it, when you stand back and, that's like I said, taking a pause and looking back, you're like, wait a minute. Why are these guys working together? This doesn't make any sense.
Right. Yeah. I'm thinking about, you took me to the book. It's a habit book, The Power of Habit. And it talks about the whole, we get into habits and in any industry, we're in habits of doing this, and we're like, okay, this is what works. This is what used to work. Okay, let's continue doing it. Dun, dun, dun. You get stuck. And how do you get out of that? Change the model, switch it up a little bit, look at what's more important to the actual customer and not just your bottom line, right? So good. So I love reading. I love doing all this stuff. Jeff, I'm gonna wrap up. We're almost there. Just 5 questions, and just whatever comes to mind. I know I sent it to you, so I don't know if you got the chance to answer them in your head already, but just real quick, I'm going to ask them, and that is the Fast 5. So here we go. So who is an influential person that you had in your business journey?
Jesus Christ and my Father.
Amen. That's awesome. Love that. That's so good. Importance of being having a father and heavenly father at that. That's good. What's one thing you wish you had known when you began your business?
I'm not in control.
So good. Serenity prayer, people. Come on, let's go. All right. What's a book, a blog, podcast, or a media that you consume that has positively impacted you?
Well, everyone calls me a Bible thumper. The Bible.
The Bible.
The one thing I want to point out is
Sure.
the book of John with the Samaritan woman. That experience, I think you might be aware of, where Christ is coming through, and this woman's coming to the well, and the Jews and Samaritans didn't really hang out together, especially with women. And Christ's approach, that approach, is the answer for business. That whole dialogue is, if you followed his dialogue, that is how we are to respond in business. He wasn't supposed to talk to her, right? It was but he cared. Like, his heart was so beautiful. He loved her. She had a scattered past. Instead of shunning her and saying, "Oh, you're so horrible," he embraced her and said, "Hey, here's some ways to solve the challenges you're facing." He asked questions. He engaged her. He didn't talk at her and say, "Here's your solution. Here's what you need to do." He's asking questions. He's engaging, and he's giving. We got 2 ears and 1 mouth, right? You listen more than you talk. And I love that part of the Bible just for business, because it answers so much how we should be treating people.
Oh, so good. I love that. I never thought about that way. That's so good. A nice little framework on business from the Samaritan woman in the well.
Right.
I love it. All right. Do you have like a favorite online tool that you use right now?
Yeah, we use a tool. One of our tools is Infusionsoft, which is now Keep. It's
Great.
a prospecting CRM tool that's HIPAA compliant, because we're in healthcare and we're
Sure.
kind of creating new ways of doing business. We really needed something that was bridging the EMR and some of the different systems.
Perfect. I love that. And I want to know more about the healthcare, what you're doing for gyms as well. But one last question. The last 5. We got to do 5. What's one habit or practice that you believe that everyone would benefit from?
Well, every morning I read the Bible and I exercise. Now, whether you believe in that or not, meditation, starting
Prayer.
off your day,
Yeah.
prayer, whatever. Everyone has their
Yeah.
own thing, right? And,
Sure.
and mine just happens to be reading the Bible and praying and then exercising. 6 days a week, I exercise. And
I love it.
I get a little sweat in, 30 minutes. It doesn't have to be arduous, but just keep me alive.
That's awesome. Now, tell us a little bit about what you're doing right now. Thank you for that, by the way. Fast 5, we got that going. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing right now in the healthcare industry and how it relates to the gyms and what you're doing to help them.
Yeah, so, actually, gyms are, I want to be a partner. I call our company kind of the quarterback in the healthcare, fitness, wellness journey for customers and patients. And like I said, it's very complex. So we have kind of 2 main companies. One is our Re-Envision company, which what we call a management service organization. And what we do is we partner with our medical company that has medical providers. So we have MDs, NPs, and so forth. And they're 2 different companies. And what we do in markets where we don't have a doctor partner,
Okay.
we will we'll be our own doctor, primary care, but we only focus on prevention and wellness, not the, pulmonary and all the other cardiac and so forth, but the things that relate to someone's health and wellness. And so what we do is we really are standalone clinics. We've got some clinics in gyms. We've got working with doctors' offices and buildings. We've got something in a retail center. So we really put our business in a way where we can really partner with the fitness organizations, wellness organizations, and doctors and kind of move the patient around in this journey. And so what our MSO really focuses on is prevention and wellness. So the things that are the top costs in the healthcare system, we take insurance. We're a medical practice, so we take people's insurance so we can make it affordable. We're not a concierge. I mean, we do have concierge services, but we really wanted to make it affordable. So we focus on the top expenditures in healthcare that are controllable, musculoskeletal, very high spending. So we have physical therapy division. We've got a medical weight loss division because obviously obesity and diabetes, so we can prescribe medication when necessary. We have a strategy there. Men's hormone Testosterone will eventually probably get into women's hormones, but women are more complex than men. Men are pretty simple to treat, so we're in that. We also have a lab division that resells labs on behalf of some of the large lab companies in the country. And then we're a final product that we're working on is mental health. It'll be psychiatric. So that's going to be the final one, which is really complex in itself. But what's interesting on the lab side, we got in the lab business because one of our pilots in our first health club in 2018, we found that almost 80% of the gym members that we gave wellness panels to had some underlying condition. And the medical community is like, how is that possible? They're health club members. And it was interesting. I was talking to a guy, Department of Defense, Black Ops guy, and he had horrible blood. I'm like, what is wrong with your blood? He goes, I guess that block of cheese I eat every night. I'm like, you kill people, and you're eating a block of cheese every night? How are you an efficient machine? I don't get it. But the labs don't lie. The blood does not lie. And it was a fascinating thing. The second thing we found was really fascinating was that health club members, 50% of them don't have primary care physicians. They don't have a doctor.
How much?
So
what's
they're not
percentage?
part of it.
50%?
About 50% of the pilot we did don't have doctors. Now think about it. I mean, I would go to an urgent care minute clinic before I got into the medical world because it's convenience down the street. I could never get into my doctor. I wait an hour in the lobby. I'm like, forget this. Everyone's sick around me. So the primary care physicians' traffic is down significantly, even before COVID. And so what we're doing is we're doing actually the medical groups pay our company, the gyms, and everyone else doesn't. And what we do is we go, okay, patient, you have high cholesterol, you have an issue. We work with this gym chain in the market, and we take them over to that gym chain and go, hey, Mary really wants to work with you. We, because of HIPAA, we can't really disclose the issues, but we've told Mary she needs to work with you. We have found that when our medical group refers to a gym, that 60% of that patient will buy a gym membership and personal training. And the personal training contracts are 33% higher because a physician referred them. Right? So, but many physicians don't trust gyms to take care of the patient. So what we do is we go into a market and go, who are the best in that market? And we're going to refer our patients. I mean, physicians will have up to 5,000 patients per physician. They have a huge boatload of people that need help, right? So we're becoming this trusted. Right now, we work with Privia Health. That's our medical partner. They're one of the biggest in the country that works with physician groups. And we own physician groups, and we also partner with physician groups depending on the market. But it's really this idea is let's take the complexity out of it for both groups, and we'll do the work because our partners are urology, internal medicine. I'm the gym guy, so I know the gym thing. So we all work together with the patient, and we can talk the language of both groups, and we kind of move them around. The doctors get more revenue because their revenue is down, so we help them make more money. The gyms get more members. So it works out really well. And so we tested that in 2018, and we found it was a home run. The gyms, we increased revenue. They didn't have to do anything. They didn't have to pay for the services. The doctors are making more money. They're now getting referrals from the gym for patients that don't have primary care physicians. So it really is a very synergistic relationship, and neither one of the groups have to learn anything or do anything. Literally, here's a piece of paper, hand it to the person to go there or go there.
Man, this is so good because, I mean, you're a connector. You're in the middle. You're getting things. You're getting people what they need, and I love that because it's a continuation. It's not just the beauty, like you said earlier, and you're going deep into that. Now, you're in my eyes, you're wise and you know so much, right? So if you could go back and share just one piece of advice with yourself, what would that be, Jeff?
I wish I better understood commercial real estate when I started out, because commercial real estate is such a big part of retail business. And I was very fortunate in my partnership, we had guys that were experts in it. But I wish I'd like to better understand the components of business. So real estate, understanding that, because that could be scary. A lot of people, quite honestly, a lot of people went bankrupt because they personally guaranteed a lot of leases. They didn't have any strategies to not use a personal guarantee. And so when their businesses collapsed, not only did they lose their business, they lost everything because they had signed away on these millions of dollars of leases that they weren't even aware that they had that obligation. So it's a missing component. People are signing leases with their signature, and they don't have any right because there's no database that says, hey, Jeff signed on $10 million over here, and he's going to do $10 million over here. Like, there's no database that credit rates these people signing all these leases, and they wake up like, oh my goodness, everyone lost. So real estate was really, I wish I knew more about that.
Yeah.
But I do know a lot now just because I've had no choice. But it
Sure.
was an early lesson I wish I would have had.
Who would you reach out to help you, I guess, in those real estate contracts?
I mean, there's so much online.
Yeah.
Just, and obviously, without saying, hire a great real estate attorney. I mean, that really
perfect.
Don't do it yourself. Some people are like, oh, I don't need an attorney. They cost me $400 an hour. I'm like, yeah, but you could lose millions.
Right.
Again, team. It's not about you. It's about the team.
Yeah.
But, the real estate attorney really helped me a lot on some tricks and so forth. But there's also podcasts and articles that you can read.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. I took away so many good insights. One of the main ones, obviously, is, once you think you've gone deep, don't just keep it superficial. Go deeper into how you're helping your members, your customers, and how you're able to get them results, fulfill what they actually want to get out. Because you're a business, you serve a purpose, and it's not just the bottom line, not just the shareholders. Your customers are the life and blood of your business, and you got to treat them like that. So,
and your employees are not just slaves and tools, right? They are part of your team.
Wow, that's gonna resonates a lot with a lot that I'm seeing right now. But that's true. Treat them with respect and as a team member. Don't forget to have fun, right? Oh, so good.
Absolutely.
So Jeff, what's the best way that our audience can connect with you and stay in touch with you?
So the best way, if you want to reach out to me, just send me an email. I'm happy to respond. The email is jskeen@resultsredefined.com. That's our main company, our investment company that works with different groups.
Awesome. Email, love that. So you're an email guy.
Still old school.
Yeah.
No Instagram,
right?
no Twitter. Just just give me an email.
Love it. It's so good. Well, thank you, Jeff. Thank you so much for being a guest on our podcast, and I appreciate everything you're doing for not just your customers, but for the industry itself.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Welcome. Take care. Hey, that was so good. I would never thought that a man like Jeff got depressed. I really liked the principle on how the ego works and how it edges God out. It also showed me how the ego makes you think that you can do all things by yourself. Also, what Jeff shared about making sure that sales are about uncovering a need and serving that need, man, that was super cool. I would love to hear what really stood out for you. So go ahead and drop me a comment or an Instagram. You can find me at Meet Esco. Also, if you haven't done so already and you thought about someone while listening, you can go ahead and copy the link and just pass it along to them. So thank you again for your time and your effort in listening to our show. So don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already. Our next episode is going to be with Michael Benso, and I can't wait to have you listen in. Until next time, I'll see you in the growth zone.